Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Your Mark on the World show. I'm your host, Devin Thorpe, and our guest today is Darya Shaked, and she is a former Israeli army officer who now lives and works in Silicon Valley, connecting African women entrepreneurs to the Silicon Valley ecosystem. Amazing work. Darya, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Now, Darya, you and I connected a few years ago when I went to Angola with your former employer, the Vital Capital impact investor that does a lot in Sub-Saharan Africa. But I don't know the story of how you ended up going from Israel to work in Africa to Silicon Valley. Tell us the story of how you ended up in Silicon Valley.
Well, so as you said, I'm an Israeli. I was born and raised in Israel. I served in the army. I served for 3 years. In my last day of service, the Prime Minister came to visit. I handled his press. I was on the IDF spokesperson, and he offered me a job at his Prime Minister's office at his communications team. I worked for the government for about 5 years in different positions, and then my first try on the private sector, I was lucky enough to meet Eitan, whom you've met, and it was the beginning of a beautiful friendship and mentorship, and he's a great, inspiring guy. And so I started my story with Africa actually started with Eitan. I just joined his company, managed large-scale projects in Africa. A few years later on, he started the Impact Investing Fund, and so we did this together. So we've actually been following his work for the past 10 years.
Well, there is a lot of similarity between Silicon Valley and Tel Aviv, but still, you haven't told us how you got from Tel Aviv to Silicon Valley.
Right. So after those years of working in Africa, both my husband and I decided that there is so much more to explore, and if we can see different ways to impact other lives and in other ways, both decided just for personal development, move to Silicon Valley. And once we got here, the opportunities to do some good are humongous here. It's like endless.
Yeah, we have a lot of problems here in America, so we appreciate you coming to help us out. So one of the things that you've been specifically trying to do is to connect African women entrepreneurs to the Silicon Valley ecosystem. Tell us a little bit about some of the women you've been working with and how you help them.
Right. So I was actually, it just happened to be that once I moved here and I had my network in Africa and my network in Israel, I was approached by many entrepreneurs. Some of them were women, which I was very passionate to help, because I believe that entrepreneurship is such a crucial moment, because entrepreneurs just find solutions to the problems they face. And if you have only 10 or 15 or 18% women entrepreneurs in the ecosystem, you'll just have so many challenges not being addressed. So I felt very passionate about supporting a goal to have a little bit of more women coming to the table and participating in decision making. And so I was just passionate to help, and this is how it all evolved to something more organized.
Well, I think it's wonderful work that you're doing. As you think about the work you're doing, do you have any specific examples of women who've been successful with your help?
Well, we just, a week ago, we had 20 entrepreneurs from South Africa. I must admit that most of them were men, but we are working on the next group, which I believe will make a bigger effort to have more women on board. But we have an amazing woman called Claudia, who has a really inspiring education startup using AI to transform the education system, starting South Africa, but you have to start somewhere, and I believe that she will just conquer the whole continent and bring the best education to the children of Africa, which will make a big difference.
Wow, that's very exciting. Very exciting. Such a huge opportunity to improve education, especially for girls in Africa. That's great. So, as you look at the work that you're doing, what gives you the most fulfillment and satisfaction? What do you love doing the most?
I like joining causes that I'm passionate about. And as we said, taking some of the best talented of Africa, all women, and bring them to a more impactful platforms I believe which will really make a difference and help them, help us make a better a future for other women entrepreneurs and also clients if we talk about education or whatnot. So anything that I feel that it has the potential of really impacting the ecosystem, I would love to help.
Oh, that's good. Well, clearly you're becoming a role model to a lot of people, especially the women from Africa that you're helping. Who do you look up to as a role model? Who inspires you?
Well, so you know him. Like we said, I think Eitan Steve, who has been involved in Africa for the past 3 decades, he's initiated and managed very large-scale projects in Africa, and he's been doing so with such a focus on the local community, on trust, and really providing tools and know-how to improve the lives of the people he works with, and just engaging with the local community. I think it's so important and is providing a very good role model for other investors also to see that you can do good while doing well, and there is no trade-off. Once you focus on the impact side of things and aspects, the financial results always improves. So he's my role model. I've been traveling with him like you did in Africa for 10 years, was so much inspired by his view, how humble he is, how he looks at children. He always used to say that you can see children in Africa are as happy as our children, and that it's our responsibility to make sure that they get the same opportunities. And I think it's amazing, and hopefully more will follow him.
Yes, he is a great guy, and I feel honored to have had the opportunity to get to know him because he is such an impressive man. Well, I think that's a great example. Now, I want to ask you to think about at a fundamental level why you care about these things that you care so deeply about. I understand why they are important, and I think most of our viewers get that these are important issues, right? Helping women in Africa have equal opportunities with men and to have opportunities to achieve all. I mean, we get that those are important things. But why are they important to you? Why did you feel compelled to do something about them?
So I grew up in a house where we were always told not to take anything for granted, and it's our responsibility to do something, never be a bystander, and just engage and make things better for other people who need your support or need you to lead them. And so once I was introduced to Africa and to the problem of women representation in the workforce, in leadership, in politics and economics, I felt very much obligated to do something about it. Just recently I met an NGO, a woman who founded an amazing NGO called Every Mother Counts. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's about 300,000 women dying every year around the world because of complications regarding childbirth. And 98% of them are preventable. This is a situation that I think no one can stand by and do nothing. We all, like most of us, certainly parents, have been to this crucial moment when everything is so delicate and you have to give every support you can to women who's getting through this situation and needs very basic things that we are provided with, and it's our responsibility to make sure that the future, which is already here, is being distributed equally.
Yeah, it is a tragic fact that there are so many women dying of preventable causes in childbirth, and I'm looking at the possibility of going to Kenya next month to take a look at that very problem. It's just tragic, and so certainly I understand your passion for helping out and doing good. Now, Darya, we ask all of our guests to give us an impact hack, some tip that would help us do more good in the world. You know, everyone who's watching the show today has one thing in common. You know, whether they are social entrepreneurs, impact investors, nonprofit leaders, whatever they may be, they want to do more good in the world. What tip would you give us? What impact hack would you give us?
So what I found here in Silicon Valley, which I was very surprised to learn, that people are very open with their network. Once you have built a community that is passionate about the things you are passionate about, opening your network, introducing people, being very open to new opportunities, to new people, to new ventures, and just making the connections, you never know how impactful that could be.
Yeah, it is a wonderful principle, right? To share networks, and it's interesting. I have had modest success in building a network, and really enjoy getting to know new people and keeping track of them best I can. And I'm frequently asked to share my network, and I'm inclined to do it, but it sometimes feels awkward to me. And I think that what you're saying is, in Silicon Valley, and part of the key to the success of Silicon Valley is that they are intrinsically generous with their networks.
Exactly. I think you should not be reckless with the information you own, and you should always do it with the right way, with permission and with good explanation to doing so. But I think networking is like our most valuable possession, because we know the priorities and intentions and capabilities of people, and if you do the connection good enough, you can create such a synergy for both sides. That I think it's worth even the problems of it.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, Darya, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. Before you go, just would you take 1 minute and tell people how they can learn more about the great things you're doing?
Oh, thank you. I think the best way would be on social media. I have my website, which is called Stride Ventures, but just feel free to contact me on LinkedIn, which is the easiest, and I'll be happy to answer. That would be the easiest. Okay.
Well, again, Darya, thank you so much for being with us today. We wish you every success in your effort to help the African women entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Let's do some good.